Here we go. Welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast for the week ending January 27, 2018. This is the second of your twofer episodes because Kenny and I are packing the bags. We're heading to Orlando to the Controltrends Awards. And man, Kenny, we got two great guests this week. Hey, I got to introduce you though. What would a show be without the man, the myth, the legend? Even though it's a twofer, the one, the only secret agent man, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. Yep, we got a great show here, and this compression thing is going on. It's just becoming more and more compressed because at the time it moved so fast, and now we're doing the final show before we head off to Orlando, and we won't be back on Control Talk Now mode till February 7th, I believe. But it's just really exciting, and we just really got a chance to bring more of the most valuable players to center stage here on Control Talk Now, the people that make it happen, and talk about the products that they love and that they support passionately, and just great insight from multiple points of view. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, this is a Honeywell type of day, so let's get our first guest on. How about introducing her?
I'd love to. Honeywell's got a new look. It's new, it's dynamic, it's full of energy, and we're going to introduce the person that's kind of responsible for the whole thing. We're going to introduce you to Barbara Cook, Channel Marketing Leader at Honeywell. Welcome to the show, Barbara.
Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here with you guys.
Well, we are so excited to have you on the show, and it's not just Barbara Cook, Channel Leader. It is Barbara Cook, finalist for Woman of the Year. So let's just start with congratulations for your nomination for Woman of the Year, Barbara.
Thank you.
Quite a feat.
Yeah, it's exciting and an honor, and I'm not quite sure how it happened, but it gives me a standard to live up to. So that sets me off on a good pace for 2020.
Well, awesome. Well, and the way it happens for our community out there, Kenny and I, we start with a clean slate. So basically, we have another category. If you voted, and people write in people. And Barbara from the global control trends community was one of the finalists. And Kenny, I think originally on the ballot, where there were like 20, 30 really super women that were, actually on the nomination ballot. So Barbara, again, it
truly was. Yeah.
Quite a
so
feat.
Well, let's face it. Just say something right off the cuff here is that our industry was kind of, it was missing something, a dynamic feature. And when women came in and took the lead positions in many, many roles in engineering, customer support, customer service, and marketing, seemed like the industry got more interesting, got more successful, and got bigger. So, the list of women that were nominated was extraordinary, and it was from around the world. There's a lot of corporations involved in the building automation and HVAC world, and every organization was very, very proud to nominate an outstanding woman, either in executive capacity or technical support. So it was really cool.
Yeah, that really was an amazing list of the names that I saw in there and I've heard about in the industry. It was a solid list of women, and I think it is nice to see more women in the industry, and I think working well hand in hand with all of the men in the industry too. There's just a lot of great leaders right now who are all looking for that new dynamic and that new something, and I just feel like we're all working really well together right now, which makes the whole industry really exciting and probably on the verge of something really, really fun and exciting in 2022.
Well, we're looking forward to, we got a new decade, but Barbara, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you wind up in our industry?
Yeah, so I'm a newbie in the industry. I think I'm looking at 15 months so far in the HVAC industry. And I grew up in the business world in IBM on the West Coast, working in a distribution model, two-step distribution. So that's all I know. It's the only way I know how to take a product to market is in partnership with other companies. So this position fit really well for that. I moved from California to Minnesota. I met my husband in California. He was from here. And so after a while, we couldn't afford property in California anymore, and we were starting a family, and it just seemed like the right time to come back to the Midwest. So we did that. And one of my big dreams in life was actually to stay home with my kids for a while when they were little. So I was really fortunate to get to do that for a while. And so I did a little bit of freelancing kind of work from home that I really enjoyed. But then as my kids got a little bit older, they didn't need me quite so much. And I really missed the corporate world. I missed being surrounded by those kind of leaders we were just talking about, having them influence my thinking and the way I do work, and just being mentored by people around me and being able to mentor other people, and miss that sense of community. So I was looking for an opportunity to jump back into the corporate world. And luckily this opportunity came up at Honeywell in the two-step distribution channel, which is just perfect. I felt like I was coming home in a sense. So that's how I landed here.
Well, fantastic. Well, we sure do love having you in the industry, and you got to compliment you. You picked a really, really great company in Honeywell. And when you talk about two-step distribution, I mean, Honeywell really sort of, Kenny, as near as I can tell, I mean, they really sort of started it and have really sort of grown with it, but especially vis-a-vis building automation controls. You know, back in the day when it started, you had the big branches, the Honeywell branch, the Siemens branch, and the Johnson branch, and they were the only ones that did building automation controls. And then you had people going direct to specialized sort of systems integrators, right? And then Honeywell came along with the W7600 product line, brought it through distribution, and Johnson about the same time. So Honeywell and Johnson Controls really, really are responsible for opening up the choices that customers have today to go through independent contractors and through distributors. So really good company.
Yeah, the way I remember it, you had John Sedgwick was my first introduction to the whole concept of two-step distribution, and some of the great Honeywell people that went into distribution, Cochran, Pat Marcel. I mean, just these guys that worked for Honeywell had knew what was missing and created that channel, that intermediation that was necessary to really support the products and get products from the market or from the manufacturer to the market. And then it's a fabulous story. But yeah, and in fact, that is so cool because we're going to transition your responsibility as the channel marketing leader. I mean, that have a title that's all about the channel. Tell us about your thoughts about the channel and the ecosystem. And we love to hear it, by the way. First thing I want to do is say, yay, I vote for you. And I want to see it prosper and sustain itself. But so tell us what's new and why that's going to be a likely case.
I think it goes back to what you were mentioning a minute ago about the expertise within the channel being in different places. People like Pat Marsala you were talking about, they have such an influence on what we do and what we know about the channel and the products and the requirements of the customers one or two steps down. So there's no way that we can be experts on what building owners need and what the contractors need and what everybody is needing along the way. So we really lean very heavily on those partners to be telling us which direction we should be going. And I think it's really, in my mind, is an ecosystem. It's all of us working together to figure out what's working, what's not, what is going to be the big deal in 2020 and beyond. What do we have to be watching for on the horizon? I don't think any one of us would get that really well on our own, but together, with all of our minds together and our industry knowledge pulled together, we're a force to be reckoned with, in my mind. And that's where the beauty of the distribution channel comes in. It's that real ecosystem kind of feeling and all working together towards one goal. So I think it's more fun too. I mean, I'm a big partnership fan, and I just prefer always to be doing something in partnership with somebody else, bouncing ideas off of other people and getting to a better result because of it.
Well said. Well said. And of course, it seems like you got a really interesting perspective on two-step distribution with what you did with IBM out in California. Mm-hmm. What are some of the parallels, but also what are maybe some things that you're bringing to the table or that you saw that form of distribution was going through that maybe we haven't done yet? We're good for some ideas here on how we can be better.
I think maybe, in coming to this position, maybe one thing is that I felt like our partnerships were really strong, like to the point where sometimes you could almost hardly tell who worked for what company. We were that tight with our distributors. And I would love to get us to that position as Honeywell. I think we're going there, and we've been there, and I just think those partnerships could be even tighter, where we're really in complete lockstep with our distributors. So that's a big goal for me. I think one other thing that we did a lot in the IT channel, one of the companies that I worked with the most was actually Intel. And so they were not a distributor of ours. They were like a third-party influencer. And so we made a widget that went inside a computer, and they made a widget that went inside a computer. And so we worked together, again, on the technologies and on the market and envisioning the future. We were really strong partners. And I think that's something that we could bring to our industry as well, is who are the partners, the manufacturing partners and the third parties, the consulting engineers, for example. That's a huge influential audience that we know that we need their input into what's going on and what's coming. And I think maybe just expanding those partnerships a little bit beyond what we have already working well in place, seeing who else we can pull into that ecosystem to make it even better.
Barbara, I just got to hop in because I think you're really hitting on something here that is, it's a different mindset. Like I mentioned, Kenny's really old, so he's kind of got the mindset of we're gonna fight over the piece of the pie, right? And I
Yeah.
think that if you look at it, really, that's not what you need to be doing. Is competing as much as you need to think about, well, how can we just make the pie bigger? Because with technology and the way it is now, if you get that mindset. And Kenny came up with a phrase. What was
Co-opetition.
Yes.
Co-opetition.
It wasn't me.
Well, he takes credit for it anyway, but Kenny's like that. But no, he comes up with great phrases. He's a great phrase guy. Matter of fact, he coined your light commercial system as the race to the small space. So
I like that, by the way. It's one of my favorite products, I have to say.
We should talk about that.
My first degree is in biology, believe it or not. I thought I wanted to be a vet when I was a kid. So to me, it's that idea of symbiosis. Even in ecology, there are animals that don't survive without each other. And I think that actually is a parallel to our distribution channel.
It's really well said. Yeah.
To Eric's point, co-opetition. Actually, the first time I heard that was in 2008. It was at one of the summits, Tritium Summit, and it was a book. And I read the book, and I just was fascinated. It was about Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Was the large discussion where they used to have the cola wars, and then when they took the cans and they pointed them out, and they took all that marketing money and effort and developed a larger market. Went over to the former East Block and whatever, and had tremendous success. The market grew, tripled. Cola market tripled. So both of them benefited extraordinarily. And it was just a lesson. And Eric and I know that with the collaboration being done, like in the upcoming HR show, we see these companies that normally would be competitors, and not really want to share cards or information or technology or what best practices or whatever, suddenly get put into a collaboratorium, they call it, and things are getting done in weeks and months. And we watched the Project Haystack, for instance, just blossom from conversations into an organization of global proportions. Right. So I get the feeling that and I'm borrowing from the Honeywell marketing, is that connected buildings concept is probably one of the most important things to realize and understand and get into and get behind. Tell us about your thoughts on that.
I think it's one of the most exciting things too. I think, I'm new to the industry, but it feels like the industry has been somewhat traditional. There are things that haven't changed in close to 100 years, which is a testament just to physics and how you can design something that lasts and works for years and years. But I feel like we're on this precipice of something big, a big change. And I think the whole industry honestly has to come together, because this is not a small shift. We're not like introducing a small variation on a product, but we're talking about taking buildings and making them intelligent and connecting all of those edge devices so that you could park your car in the parking lot and the lights turn on from your car to the front door. And as you approach the front door, it recognizes your badge security swipe and it opens the door for you, lights your hallways all the way to your office, and then turns the air conditioning settings to what you like to be comfortable. I think this comes from the idea, now we're getting comfortable with the idea of ordering our fridge can order our groceries for us through Amazon, right? In our personal lives, this is becoming an expectation that I can open my garage door with my phone if I want through my app, right? We just expect this now. I think very soon, now it's exciting and fun to be able to introduce it to the commercial building world, and very soon it's going to be an expectation, because that's just how people's minds are going to go in that direction. And I think it's super exciting to be able to be part of that move into connected buildings.
Well, here's a question for you. One of my teachers used to say if you look throughout history, there are two types of change. There's what you call a cyclical change or a structural change. And you have to think differently depending on which type of change you're dealing with. The cyclical change would be like the stock market or fashion, right? The ties get skinnier, they get fatter, the stock market goes up and down. And one of your strategies in a cyclical change is you just try to time the market. Timing's what's most critical. A structural change is like what happened when the computer was invented. I mean, it didn't matter how good your typewriter was, you had to adapt or die. When the car came along, didn't matter how good your horse and buggy was, you had to change. Do you think we are in a structural change, or do you think this is just part of a cyclical change?
I would say for sure it's a structural change. And we actually are planning to talk a lot about that at AHR. One of the things we run into with customers now is helping those building owners or the construction crews or consulting engineers working on designs for new buildings, either retrofits or new design, understand that, for example, if you're not designing on an IP network at this point for your automation system, by the time the doors open, your building's obsolete. And so you don't want to pile all that money in on the technology that we're using today that is about to go obsolete. So I would say for sure it's a structural change. And there's a lot of, we have to make sure everybody's comfortable with that idea that, you know, it is the right direction to go, and that people are well educated and understand where we're going and how to get there with us and why it's better for all of us overall.
You know, Barbara, I think, I'm sorry, the one thing that you said about this is being a moment, like you feel it in the air, you know, it's burgeoning, it's getting bigger, and you feel like something's going to happen. I think sometimes I feel the same thing. And we saw the convergence of IT and OT and how, what an impact that meant. And that threw everything onto the network, you know. So all of a sudden we're seeing IP centric controllers and IP style and IoT devices, the whole the vernacular and conversation, the naming of things, the conventions are changing. But I think too, though, is what you said earlier about the expectations. I think we're seeing a lot of youthful expectations. They come into this old world and they're saying, why is this, what's slow? Why is this so retarded and slow to change? I mean, let's go, let's get with the program. So I think we, like Gary says, the senior class of an industry, are realizing that it's time to make the move. Now, there's been a lot of headwinds, there's been a lot of resistance, but I think we're just snap and go with the flow. In other words, the issues of privacy have been surmounted. Everybody's got comfortable with understanding that there's a certain amount of anonymity and privacy where you think you're being invaded, but you're not. You're just providing data to a system that's just trying to help you live a simpler, safer, more efficient life. You know, so I think that's another part of the shift that's going on. But I would agree that we're right at the doorstep of a major structural change.
Yeah, I would agree. I think here at Honeywell too, we have a lot of young guns, as you would say here at Honeywell, and I think in the industry as well. And I'm super exciting to work alongside of them and to see how they think. I mean, they don't know life without social media, for example, and they bring so many new and creative ideas into our world. And being able to meld those with all of the great ideas that have traditionally been in the HVAC industry and come up with a really great blended solution. I'm really excited to see where our young guns are going to take us and what direction we'll all end up going together. So
that's really, really exciting. And I want to transition a little bit more to you, Barbara. But before I do, I want to give our audience a metaphor. Okay, this is Ken Smyer's wisdom. Kenny has, I think, combination, all told, there are 13 Smyers. He came from a large family. And as Kenny was fond of pointing out, when there was a box of donuts, somebody went without a donut.
A dozen.
When you had a dozen donuts, somebody went without a donut. So you develop a certain mentality, and you live out of that. I mean, it shapes, how you look at business. And I think for most of us that have been in the industry for so many years, it was like that. It was like there's a dozen donuts and there's 13 people. Somebody's going to lose out. I think if I was going to sort of describe our shift, I would say, now we got a donut machine now. If you're still fighting over the donut, you're missing the opportunity to go get something else. And I think part of that shift, and I want to know if you're seeing this too, is the fact that the owners are getting involved, the stakeholders are getting involved. It's not as simple as just putting a vanilla, system in. It's got to be symbiotic with the building that it's trying to put in, and the owners are educated. So how and I know it seems like Honeywell's responding very well to what the owners are asking for with them, what the industry is asking for. How are you seeing that sort of play out from your perspective?
We're trying to do a lot of listening right now, so especially to that building owner, facility manager audience that maybe we haven't traditionally had that direct connection with because of our distribution channel. So listening to them directly as well as through our partners now. I almost feel like that structural change right now, it's big enough that everybody is almost maybe a little bit humbled by it. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all, but throughout the industry, we all realize that there's so much to figure out on this and so much to learn that everybody's open to talking to each other and sharing lessons learned. And so we're seeing a lot of collaboration, I think, to help get to the right answer more quickly, which I think turned out to be a really great solution to the problem.
Very, very cool. Well, I gotta dovetail off of that, then I'll let you get back to it, because we're talking about lessons learned. And, Barbara, I want to cycle back and put the spotlight on you a little bit here, because, you're nominated for Woman of the Year. And, that typically comes meaning with sort of it sort of means that you are recognized as a great leader. So, my personal theory is along the way, great leaders have great mentors or learn great lessons.
Yeah.
For some of our younger people or young guys that are coming into the industry, what are some of the lessons you learned, or maybe something you wish you had known when you were in your 20s that you know now?
You know, it's funny. I think maybe one of the big things is what we've been talking about the, making the pie bigger in general. You can talk about that in a marketplace. I learned that fairly early on in my career from a very strong manager that I had, that her having good opportunities or my teammates having good opportunities did not in any way limit me, and that the pie of opportunity can also get bigger. And so that, I think that actually directed me to be partnership driven, within the industry and also within the companies that I've worked at. I've only really been at IBM and Honeywell mostly. So two big companies, obviously full of incredibly intelligent people. And it was really monumental for me to learn not to be intimidated by them or to feel like I had to compete with them, but to learn from them. And
Nice.
so I've spent most of my career asking questions and just trying to learn from people around me.
Well, that's really interesting. That's well said. I just had to take a minute to think about that because, again, the behavioral change there is very important to recognize. I mean, and for us in our industry, we've seen these shifts. These, you used to use the word influencers, and the people that spent the budgets and the facility manager and boiler room Bob and everything no longer are the targets anymore. It's the C-suite. It's the people. It's the IT department. And so it's very important to recognize that and then shift. But the thing that Eric is saying about the Woman of the Year, I think it's so important, the leadership and the executive character, the integrity. It's all necessary. And it's all hard to do. And when you get a whole bunch of people, like you recognize your colleagues, but Honeywell is on the move and it's got a lot of good people. And you work with a team of people, and the Controltrends Awards has recognized some of the other folks that really are truly the engines, the pistons, the driving forces within those departments of Honeywell. Talk about, if you will, some of those folks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a couple of them come to mind immediately. Mike Keller, obviously a very well-known name in the industry. For me, he's a huge mentor. Like, just whenever Mike's in the room, I try not to say anything because I learned so much from him. He's a good person. He always wants to do the right thing for the industry and for Honeywell and for our partners, and just being able to soak up some of his knowledge, I think has made me a much better person and a better leader already in a very short period of time. So I just have huge amounts of respect for Mike. I think his nomination was very well deserved and one of the pillars of Honeywell for sure. And another Mike, we like to hire Mikes here at Honeywell. Mike Noble, again, another great leader in our organization. Mike's just very humble and very easy to get along with. His customers would probably say that about him too. Just always doing the right thing for Honeywell, always doing the right thing for his customers. Again, always listening for feedback. What can we do better? One of the things that most excites me about Honeywell right now is that I think our leadership team in general is very open to ideas and partnerships. And I think that's taking us in a really great direction really fast. And those two Mikes, Noble and Keller, are two of the people leading that. And very excited.
Well, and you got another Mike Garceau too. We like
and
Mike
Garceau as well. Absolutely leads that. He's charging off in great directions for us. And, what an amazing leader he is. He's got a great business sense. He understands the channel, completely committed to it. Again, understands that partnership.
And I'm sorry for hopping in, but I do want to comment on the two Mikes real quick, because to your point, Mike Keller is nominated for Executive of the Year, and Mike has actually won the Executive of the Year in the past, and he's also won the PID Award, Passion, Integrity, Dedication. I've known Mike for a long time, and me like you, I'm very impressed with Mike. Mike is a guy that, he's calm, he's rational. And I think when you say he seeks to do the right thing, I've always had that feeling for Mike. He's fair. He can be tough when he has to be, but I think he's always trying to seek the right thing.
Yeah.
And Mike Noble, I've had the pleasure. Mike was our rep for a while, so I was really happy to see the Controltrends Awards reach out and nominate him because he's kind of one of the unsung heroes. And Barbara, part of what we do the Controltrends Awards, we want to shine the spotlight on some of these people that are in the trenches doing it every day. And I don't know if we ever told you, but we did this because we wanted people to have their Hollywood moment. So this is going to be your first Controltrends Awards, right?
Yeah.
So we normally have the red carpet and all that stuff, and you can see
still
some
have red carpet. We still have red carpet.
But normally, this is going to be a different one because we're doing the Super Bowl one, right? So everybody's going to be in. But normally, everybody's dressed up, and well, Mike Keller, I've gotten interviews with Mike on the red carpet and going, Mike Keller from Honeywell, Mike, what are you wearing? It's I'm wearing Nike, right? Or Fruit of the Loom or whatever. But these are such great guys and so deserving. So.
Yeah, I could echo on both Mikes. I know Mike Keller for she's 25 years, a long time. I don't even talk in those terms because it does date us. And Eric, he seems to be on my age. Just seems to be on his radar today. So I'm going to shy away with it. But Mike Noble, he was a young Charger. He was I met Mike in about 5 years ago, and I knew he was destined for better things. And how Honeywell used Mike Kelly, took him from this department, he was very successful, and put him in another department to build it up and make it successful. But there's other people involved here too, and we've got some technical people that we need to recognize from Honeywell. So tell us about Paula and Jeff.
Yeah, and Mike Hines as well. Those guys, another Mike. We're all Mike is one of the technical support person of the year already too, Michael Hines. Yeah, I'm not surprised actually. Those guys, their technical knowledge is incredible. It makes my job easier because I don't have to know how the widgets work. I get to focus on the partnerships, and then when I need to know how the widgets work, I run down to our web squad room. And I love going in there because I'm kind of a Star Trek fan. And it feels like you walk down to the bridge of the Starship Enterprise, and they've got all these high-tech gadgets everywhere, blinking and beeping, and I just love being in there because I feel smarter. And then, the tech support people back there, they're working tirelessly, answering the phones, figuring out problems. I mean, they never stop for our customers, but also for us internally here at the office. If we ever need anything, I run down there and they all jump up to try to help. And we're super thankful for that team, and they all deserve their nominations as well. Just a great tech support team down there.
And Honeywell's up for Tech Support Company of the Year as well. And you guys have won that in the past too. Yeah. So, you're being recognized overall as doing great tech support. But the team you have together, they are tireless, they're passionate. And I think if you were going to have a Star Trek Enterprise, you'd probably want to have those guys helping you out there, right?
Yeah, we'd have people out there, our field people like Guy Zebrick and Lou Jones and John Hutchie. They'd be doing the spacewalks for us out on the outside, right?
There you go. I think Guy Zebrick's done a few spacewalks.
I bet he probably has.
Yeah. For sure. So again, Mike Noble, PID Award, Mike Keller, Executive of the Year, Paula Fowles for Tech Support Person. You guys are for the company. And then you're up for a bunch of product awards too, but we're going to meet one of your colleagues here in a little bit and talk to her about that as well. But so what do you love most about this industry?
I think it's the opportunity, honestly. We've talked a little bit about how things are changing, and that just opens up a world of opportunity in all kinds of different ways. Obviously revenue-wise, we're all here to run successful businesses, and so there's a lot of that opportunity for us. But I think the opportunity to be creative and to do things totally different and be brave and jump out of our, the boxes we've been in for a while and just think outside and lean on those partnerships. And I just think it feels like a blank slate almost a little bit to me. Like, what could we do? What is the right direction? What can we dream up? And I love that kind of having that freedom to really be creative.
Awesome. Nice. Well, the technology's here, and we get feeds from the Department of Energy every day, and we know that the market out there is gargantuan. There's guesstimates between 75 and 85% of the buildings are under serviced when it comes to technology. And it's very important that we just keep the push going. I mean, as Eric always points out, this is one of the few professions where young people, when they come in, they can make a difference. They can actually make the planet greener, deal with this climate issues, and you do it through the expenditures of efficiencies of energy and making people more productive in their work centers. So it's a great opportunity to see a major mature vendor, take people and give them free rein to go out there and get some of that, get more of that market, keep us all employed until it's time to retire in Florida.
Right.
I agree. I think that's maybe one of the other things that's exciting is this feeling that when I come to work every day, I feel like what I do matters. Like what you're saying, it really does make people more comfortable. It makes them safer. It really makes a difference. And that's drawing us into work every day right now too.
No, it absolutely does. And now here's, because again, Kenny's kind of old and he told me this. I didn't know this until he told me, but Honeywell was the first person to really address the light commercial building with their light commercial system. Their LCBS product was just huge. I mean, there was years where you guys sort of created that trend. Others have hopped in and followed it, but So congratulations on that. And you guys continue to look for solutions for smaller buildings, which, as Kenny pointed out, 70-80% of those buildings don't have anything in them right now to save energy.
Right. Yeah. There are a lot of those buildings are running off residential thermostats right now. And so we can do better than that. And we're really actually, I'll let Melissa talk about the products, but LCBS has a special place in my heart. It was the first product I ever worked on here at Honeywell. And
wow. Were you working on with Larry? Was Larry there when?
Yeah.
Weber? Yeah. Oh, we're big fans of Larry Weber as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mark Panzer, he taught me everything what I know about the light commercial world. And so that product it's a great product still, and it opens up opportunities. We're working a lot with restaurants right now, for example, where it's because the BAS is not just about HVAC anymore. It's not just about keeping your restaurant comfortable. It's about managing your refrigeration. It's about the security systems and the lighting systems. And so we're looking forward to, bringing all that into our light commercial system. That's the next step that's coming, is to pull that all together. So you really do have a mini BAS system that's running your whole 5,000 square foot little building. And that's just not really available at the moment. So I'm super excited about that. We've got some, really exciting thermostat and some wireless and some wire and all kinds of stuff coming that Melissa can tell you about. But light commercial is a huge market, and I love it. It's, again, maybe it goes back to my partnership roots, but I love being able to partner with small business owners to make a really big difference in the way that they can do business and the money they can save on their energy. And so that's one of my favorite markets still. I think it's a big deal. And in small buildings.
What is? That's where the donut machine is. And
right,
we need the coffee.
Yeah, before I make my next statement, because I can tell Kenny's getting upset about this. I'm actually 6 months older than Kenny. Okay, so I'm the older of us. I just act more immature than he does. So,
well, I was going to ask for Barbara to help me out there, because Eric's got the whipping stick out, and I don't know what's provoking him to keep hitting me with my age. But
sorry, I'm older than you are.
Go away.
So,
okay.
I wish we could.
You got the extra donut this morning. He's on a bit of a sugar rush.
There you go. There you got it,
All right.
Barbara. You got it. But I want to cycle back around. I didn't realize you'd worked on the team with Larry, but. And this is, to me, sort of an example of how Honeywell is more than just products. It's about really creating business opportunities. Because for years, I tried to sell light commercial systems to service contractors, right? Mm-hmm. And, they wouldn't buy into it. They had the service contracts and that was it. And you probably did the research on this, but, Honeywell pointed out to me that, well, if you look at service contracts for service contractors are absolute gold. It's a predictability in the business. They know for every service contract they have, they're going to get X amount of dollars in upgrades, X amount of dollars in repairs, and it makes it very predictable. So they guard those with their life, right? So why would they risk going in, putting a building automation system in if they didn't have to? And what you guys pointed out to me, because I was wondering why I couldn't get any interest there, what you guys pointed out, well, they need to begin to shift, because first of all, if they don't present them with one of these opportunities to automate their building, somebody else will. Secondly, if they have a system like the Honeywell system, they can drive their cost to serve that contract down to stay competitive. Mm-hmm. So now, instead of trying to sell it as an opportunity, right, it still is an opportunity, but really and truly, if you were a service contractor that was thinking it was risky, you guys pointed out or enlightened me in such a way to realize it's much riskier not to at least present it to your service customer.
Yep. Yeah. And we saw that shift go well. It's one of the advantages of having a system that has multiple benefits to it too, right? So it'll fit different businesses' models in different ways. So those service contractors, absolutely, we pull their cost to serve down. We actually just give them more information sometimes too, so that they can still roll their truck and they still get to go out and see their customer face to face and get all those benefits, but they know what to put in their truck before they leave, and they've looked at the maintenance records online on the cloud, and they know exactly what's working and what's not. And so when they arrive, they're experts before they've even walked in the door, which makes them even stronger partners to that customer that they're serving, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Barbara, the last thing I had was the kind of a statement where we have the technology, we certainly have the market and the potential to grow. What's the story with people getting into our industry and helping us achieve that? Do you have any? What's Honeywell doing, and what's your thoughts about how do we get more people into our industry?
More people like you, Barbara, actually.
Who don't steal the donuts. That's all you're worried about.
Yeah. Right. Don't let anybody steal my donuts.
Yeah. This is a conversation we've been having a lot at Honeywell. And actually, I was talking to a colleague just the other day. We were sort of laughing a little bit how neither one of us grew up thinking, oh, when I grow up, I want to be in the HVAC industry. But it really is an amazing place to be. And we're so thankful to be here now. We have a program in place right now that I think is really driving this for us, we call it a sales rotation program. We're bringing people in right out of college who have said, yeah, I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a salesperson, or I want to be a marketing person, from different areas, and bringing them in and teaching them the HVAC industry. So we've brought in, I think, 6 people so far. We have another 4 or 5 coming in pretty soon. And we let them rotate through all of our departments here at Honeywell. So we teach them what it's like to do finance for HVAC industry, and we teach them how to do channel marketing for the industry. And they spend, I think, minimum 6 or 8 weeks on product training. And then they rotate through the sales team, and they get to see the industry from all different vantage points. And every single one of them so far has been just lit on fire for the industry because they could see the opportunities. And I think they see the partnerships. They see people like Mike Keller, who have been here for a while and bring so much knowledge. And they see all those people working together. And I think they see that opportunity you were talking about earlier to be the people that make the change. Because when we talk about moving to IT, that's so natural for them that they don't even have to think about it. And the big thing for them is figuring out how to bring everybody else with them in a comfortable state, right? But that's a challenge they seem to be really excited to jump into. So
is Andrew Steinke one of those?
Yes, Drew Steinke is one of those. Yes.
Well, he's in Pittsburgh. He just got
he's in your area.
Yep.
Yeah. He came through the sales rotation program last year, and then his colleague Samantha Schlicht is in Boston for us now, out in the field. It's been really fun to see those two sort of graduate out of our Golden Valley office, go out into the field and support customers and just do a fantastic job because they get it, that we've sort of laid the foundations for them really well. And they're really excited to be out in the field now. So
sounds like a great program. How come I didn't get a chance to go into that program?
You didn't apply, apparently.
No, I hate to say it, Kenny, you're too old.
I know, but a couple of universities. But Honeywell and those guys, they trained everybody and then set them loose. But we didn't have any growth. We didn't have any additions to our industry. There's a gap. You go to a meeting, you got half the people are gray here and half of them are playing with.
You can see it still a little bit, yeah.
Well, that was the donut years where people didn't think there were enough donuts, and now we're here to tell you unequivocally there's donuts for everybody. There's more donuts you can possibly eat, and I think that's what's
donuts aren't healthy
people
anymore now. Hell with donuts. Let's go.
Nobody wants them. Maybe that this idea. I think the idea of the opportunity within trade is starting to come back around too. When I went through university, that was just the thing. Nobody ever asked me what I wanted to do. You just assumed that you were going to go to university. And I think people are stopping and rethinking that now. And I think that's a really good thing. I think there's a ton of opportunity in trade, and hopefully that will boost our industry as well. Having more people just give it a look. I think there was a period in time where nobody even thought about it, and that was a bad thing.
Right.
Well, I think it's changing. Now, listen, Barbara, you guys are going to be at AHR. Tell us about that. You guys have a booth there at AHR, and how can people find you?
Yep. I should know the booth number off the top of my head, shouldn't I? But I don't.
Well, if you don't, I tell you what, just send it to us. We'll put it in the show notes. How about that?
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. Yes, we have a booth there. So it'll be a number of our divisions there. We're going to be focusing on, we did some surveys over the last 4 to 6 months to our customers and asked, what are your biggest challenges right now in the buildings industry? And what do you see coming in 2020? And the challenges that bubbled up to the top of that list were energy management and maintenance, and cost savings through energy. Cybersecurity, of course, is huge. We talked about that IT versus OT. That's still on people's minds. In theory, people are comfortable with it, but in practice, how do we put it into practice well in buildings? So we'll be talking about that a lot. We'll be talking about retrofitting and infrastructure and why IP is important in that kind of an environment. And then lastly, one of my favorites is occupant comfort. How do we get to this world that we're envisioning and that we know is coming, where people are the most comfortable, the most safe, the most secure that they can be in their buildings? Because that's something we're all going to have to tackle together. So that's the major messaging for us at AHR that we'll be talking around, and I'm looking forward to it. It's a fun event. It's always really exciting to see what's new in the industry. I love walking the floor at HR and just seeing what's going on. So,
well, you're in booth 2701.
Thank you. You're hired.
Yeah, there you go, Kenny. Now we'll put you through that program. So
Good.
you look younger to me now too, Kenny. All of a sudden, just her saying that,
Forget
it's
it,
like,
man. You're
you're up like 15
I'm putting
years,
you
buddy.
in timeout corner. That's it.
No,
Yeah,
he feels bad now.
yeah. You see, if you get put in timeout, you'll feel young again, Kenny. Promise you. My wife puts me
There
in
you go.
timeout all the time, so it's not a problem. But listen, Barbara, on a sort of a very sort of sincere note, thank you so much for your sponsorship of the Control Trends Awards. Honeywell has been with us since the very first awards. Kenny, it's a labor of love for me and Kenny because we want to recognize people like you, Mike Noble, Mike Keller, and all the other great people in our industry, but we could not do it without the sponsors. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much to Honeywell for your continued support of the Control Trends Awards.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for letting us be a part of it. It's a great event. It's so well known in the industry. When I first started, it was described to me as the red carpet event of the HVAC world. So,
Nice.
it's we look forward to it every year.
Well, fantastic.
Great. Well, this is going to be a tailgate style, so we're going to transition.
I know. I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not going to have an excuse to put on the black dresses and the high heels.
Next year, we're going
Next
back
year,
to
for
Chicago.
sure.
Yeah, so we'll have
Okay, perfect.
higher, yeah.
Yeah,
Last year was our ultimate high society. The Fox Theater was a one of a kind
fun.
building.
Yeah,
were you there?
that.
Were you there last year, Barbara?
I was. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
I was very new, and it was one of the highlights of my first couple months, and it was really a lot of fun. That venue was amazing.
It was,
well, I got to tell you, Kenny and I get so nervous there. It's like that's why we have to video the thing because we can't remember who we talked to. So, but listen, we look forward to seeing you and the rest of the team Honeywell, and thank you so much again. And this is Barbara Cook, your finalist for Woman of the Year. If you hadn't voted already, consider voting for Barbara. And you have voted already. Get a young IT specialist that can hack the system and vote for her too.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere for sure. Barbara, thanks so much. But I love talking to Barbara. Barbara, we got two Canadian women that are up for the Woman of the Year. We got Lauren Scott from Distech and Barbara Cook from Honeywell. So you could call it the Woman of the Year. You could call it the Battle of Canada. I think both play
Canada.
well, right? Well, Canada. There you go. There you go. But love what you had to say. Love the energy, man. You can just feel her enthusiasm, and it's just great. Honeywell's adding some new, really, really wonderful, powerful, excited people, and I'm expecting great things from Barbara. So that was awesome.
Right.
But hey, we have another Honeyweller up, teed up, and ready to go. How about introducing her?
Again, I'd love to, Eric. Second dynamic Honeywell person we're going to introduce, another future shaper, is Melissa Cisewski. She's the product development manager and marketing leader for Honeywell. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, guys.
We are so glad to have you here. And right off the bat, what's this deal going on with you and Mark Slaughterhoff, man? I understand you guys are fighting. Can you tell us about that?
Mark and I are a great team. He and I, every great team has a little healthy conflict, right?
Yeah.
And Mark and I, he knows when we're fighting.
Well, so I hear what's going on is Mark's old school. He's wanting to just have Honeywell revert back to just doing nothing but pneumatics, and you're telling him, dude, they don't even work anymore. Like the thermostat I have in my office is not even hooked up to anything, right?
Seriously, you got to just drag these guys, right? Drag them into the digital future. Pretty excited about that digital future there.
Well, that's a great segue.
Well, it's a great segue. And of course, it's so great. Honeywell, we just interviewed Barbara Cook, and, Honeywell's always had great people. They've been known for their great people. And most of the people that are distributors were at Honeywell at some point in time because you guys just are great breeding ground for great talent. But it's great to see the young talent. So what got you to Honeywell? Tell us about your path to this industry.
Oh, yeah. So I'll go way back and I'll let you know that I chose an electrical engineering degree because it was my favorite chapter in the physics book.
Nice.
That's the only thought I put into it, right? It was, I think, my fourth year of college when I was like, oh, hey, I'm the only woman in this class. I didn't realize it. It just wasn't on my radar, and but I wouldn't change it at all. Like that, it was never a deterrent, right? And I started off in the appliance industry doing in supply chain actually, and quickly moved into design engineering, doing wire harnessing and transformers and lights and cooking equipment, different cooking equipment items. Moved into project management because I just wanted more, right? More and more. Like I just saw the way everything interconnected, and that was exciting to me. And so went from there into the SCADA industry, doing software for electric and gas utilities. Made my way into some chip down circuit board design work. And then my last role was with the Internet of Things startup. So we made a platform that pulled data onto the web, and then a front end that displayed that data in a way that mattered, right? Because data without context is just a bunch of numbers, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing background.
Okay, but so
really
what you know what you're telling me, Melissa, is that Honeywell is like the ultimate playground for you with all these great products you get to play with. So tell us about some of the products you're working with, and because you got a bunch of run for Controltrends Awards.
Yeah. So excited and honored, really, to be a part of the group that are nominated for the awards and in the finalists. Like, what an incredible group of nominees and finalists, and just the industry is changing so much right now, right? It's evolving rapidly, and what I'm seeing happening here at Honeywell is like we're forging part of that path, right? So some of the things that we're seeing is that hardware really owns the edge, and you're going to see the edge really start to own that, right? You can see it in our Cypher products today, where they're pulling in that Niagara right up to the edge so that you can do things like analytics right there, right? And then the openness too, right? Like we're seeing more and more integrations and like people pulling things together so that instead of 5 different logins to manage your building's HVAC and energy, you got one login and you can see it all, right? So that openness wins, and converging and integrating solutions. And then in addition to that, we're seeing these connect to serve things, right? Especially I think that, we see it in the analytics side and maybe in some of the security stuff where you're getting this like regular feedback in real-time feedback on what's happening so that you can make decisions real time, and you're not waiting until you get a report at the end of the month or in a quarter or something like that, right? You're getting it right now. And the value that brings to that end customer to be able to real time see what's going on is there's so many possibilities for it, right? Getting into this predictive maintenance or into this space where you don't have to wait for a phone call saying, hey, I'm cold, or hey, this is like where everybody's sweating in the office, right? Or hey, something broke and it's like smoking in here, like whatever. Like you don't have to wait for that stuff because you're seeing it happen real time before it actually gets there, right? So it's just such an exciting time to be here.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I just have a hunch you might be into something called like artificial intelligence or something like that. I mean, okay.
I am familiar with the Cylons. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, because Kenny's been accused of having like an artificial chip planted in his brain because he's so smart, right? People can't be humiliated. But I guess I'm sort of asking because it sounds like you really are so passionate about the technology, which I love. But is that coming to our industry, do you think? Do you think we're going to have artificial intelligence built into the controllers and things like that?
So I think that I would even say that anytime that you have a system that is looking at trends and making recommendations to you, you're already on your way.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
So it's not, and it's not something you're going to like wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden there's going to be AI there. Right. It's an evolution.
Right. Well, you're so right. And then that's kind of where I wanted to just circle back a little bit, because you were talking about the direction the industry was going on, which is fabulous. And like Eric said, it's great to see such young, intelligent energy focusing on the problems at hand, because we need it. The globe sure needs to have better managed energy, better managed efficiencies, and inside the building, we spend 90% of our lives inside some building or the other. We've got to make those as productive and comfortable and as organic as possible, so that we just enjoy a better, presence, of life. And so, but that's not done with like you said, a magic wand. So AI, we know we're at the beginning stage. It's amongst us, but we don't recognize it yet. But what are the stages of how our industry is changing and how the direction is changing?
Yeah. So from my background with Internet of Things and like kind of starting way back when it was just called M to M, right? Machine to machine, and we were just like sending data and whatnot, and it really starts with getting all that data, right? So the switch to IP is really important because it opens up the gate for that data to come in, right? So that's where it starts. You got to get that data. But getting the data is not where it stops, right? Once you have the data, then you got to know what to do with it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I see daily that Honeywell is doing really well. We're taking that data and we're turning it into something that is actionable, something that you can actually use, right? So that's where it starts with that data. Then you have to do something with that data, right? Run it through different algorithms, maybe compare it, look at trending, look at maybe other spaces that are similar to yours in the same area. Like there's all these things you can do. And the amount of processing, there's some of it you want to do right at the edge, right? So we're getting that ability right at the edge with the Cyper products from Honeywell's perspective, and getting Niagara right there where you can do some of that processing right there. But then there's some stuff that takes a lot of processing power. Maybe you want to compare it against trends in your region, or maybe even the whole country or something like that, right? You're really going above and beyond just your little footprint and really digging into maybe what the utility's doing, or whatever those larger, bigger picture items are, and you're pulling that stuff into the cloud. One, to make that available, right, readily wherever you're at, so you don't have to be on site, but you can actually manage it remotely. But also, you get that processing power in the web, right? And that ability to take advantage of the storage of data and the processing of data that a controller just is going to be best at doing, that like close real-time stuff. But this long-term trending or this comparison stuff, that'll be something you want to take out of that controller and really use and get the most out of.
Right. Well, and I want to hop in a minute too, because, for our community out there, Honeywell's kind of a unique position to do all this from edge to enterprise. Because when you talk about data, all data is based on sensors. You guys have sensors. If you're going to have something happen, it has to get to, valves or relays. You guys got the valves, you guys got the relays, you guys have the controllers. So you guys can really sort of in a great position to put it all together with the data analytics. So sort of like, for example, the Cyper 50, is up for the plant controller of the year. And you guys have been doing building automation controls as long as anybody on the planet. So there's a two-part question. First, tell our community about the Cyper 50 and what makes that so special. And then secondly, sort of talk about the bundle of product solutions that you guys are offering, and several of them up for Controltrends Awards again this year.
Yeah, so the Cyper 50 is a really great product, and part of what makes it so great is that there's so many integrations that you can do with it, including backwards compatibility. So it's sort of this this controller that fits in perfectly for us, right? The backwards compatibility makes you able to upgrade some of these old systems that maybe you don't want to change out every single room controller, right? Or unitary controller or VAV controller. Maybe those are all fine, but you want to update the ability to process that data. You want to update the UI and ability to interact with that data. So you can take the Cyper 50 and you can plug that into that old system, and boom, you're on your way, right, to that future, right? But it also is built for the future, right? So we've got the Niagara 4 framework right on the Cyber 50, right? And it's expandable. So we've got lots of I/O that you can add to it, and it can grow with you in the future as well. So it's just this great positioned product to help pull people into the future, right? So we've got I don't know if you guys want me to get into the details of things, but it's got
Sure.
built-in I/O. There's a version with a display if that's something that is of interest. But there's also an external display or no display at all. It's licensed to 5 devices and 100 points right off the bat, right? So that you get that. You get there's 25 free analytics points that come with it. They just come with it, right?
Right.
You don't have to buy additional analytics to try analytics out, the Niagara Analytics out, right? Like, it's right there for you. It's a really great controller that we brought to the market last year, and it's really just.
Well, it's obviously been very successful. I mean, because you're looking at all the mature vendors, and you have some new players out there that have come in with some incredible IoT devices that are bringing quad-core processors and whatever. And so to hold your ground and maintain the market and increase the market with the product is a feat these days, because there's so much competition. But I would again circle back when you said about the gateway being the IT. Once you get the IP networks up, you're going to get a whole lot faster flow of data, and you can use that data in a greater capacity. But with data and with IT and with IP, what is our single greatest fear, and that is cybersecurity. I mean, could you just briefly cover how what your experience there is, and how the right measures are being taken within the.
Be careful, Melissa, because Kenny's asking if you ever had a career as a hacker. You don't have to answer that part of it. He's more along the lines just wanting to know.
I bet Melissa dabbled at it. Probably got her. She's interested in it. Said, "Yeah, I could do that if I wanted to. I'd go to the dark side."
Yeah, and my take for me personally is I've got nothing to hide. You can see it, man.
Nice.
But as far as, because I mean, if I'm gonna truly take my own personal life out of any cybersecurity risk, I'm not online, right?
Yeah, right.
And so that's the only way to truly get out of it, right? From a personal standpoint, and I'm talking about using cell phones and email and things like that, right? But from a controller standpoint, we really build our products with cybersecurity in mind. We have an entire group here at Honeywell dedicated to product cybersecurity, and every single product we create has to go through a separate cybersecurity phase gate process where they're checking all of it. And it's one of those things where I am so grateful that team is here, because they are double checking, right? They are like the experts in the field, and this is includes the Niagara offering as well, right? And especially with Niagara 4.8, you've got some really great security dashboards to check out in 4.8. Highly recommend anyone who's got access to Niagara 4.8 to check out those security dashboards, because they really lay out for you what your whole system has going on. Right.
The health and well-being of your system. But, again, a great point. But, there's people that seem to get antagonized by the constant need to upgrade and migrate to the newest, best, security, patches that are put out there. Seems like a natural tendency in our industry that once you put it in, you just kind of want to let it go. And that's got to be changed. That behavior has got to change. And you have to keep that software maintenance agreements alive and well, and you have to continuously upgrade your software so that you take advantage of all the hard work that your people are doing, right?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you there. And what really comes to mind when you talk about that is, the Henry Ford quote. Do you know this one?
Make a million.
What's that?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So what comes to mind is the Henry Ford quote, right? If I had asked the people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses,
Well, nice.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Steve Jobs lived by that credo too. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't come to the market with faster horses, right?
Yeah.
What he did is he went out, he listened to his customers, and he heard what their complaints were, right? And I don't know Henry Ford personally, so this is like hearsay.
Kenny does. Kenny went to high school with him.
But you know, he heard what the complaint is. Hey, they want to get there faster. They don't want it to take 2 days to go 200 miles, right? So what he did is he came back with a car, right? And so that's what the whole, all of us manufacturers are out there, especially here at Honeywell. I know Honeywell because I'm living it, right? And what we're doing is we're going out and we're listening to customers and we're hearing what their issues are, and not necessarily coming back and saying, oh, you wanted a shinier product, so here we buffed it for you. Here's the shinier product, right? No, we're hearing that, oh, you want better service. Oh, you want more secure systems. Oh, right? And we're hearing all these things, and then we're bringing back that as into our products, right? And especially the Cyper product line, the Cyper 50, you'll see that, right? And as we continue to grow and get into additional offerings, you know, bringing things into the cloud and doing these connect to serve products, that's what you get. You end up getting this real time, you know, feature improvements, real time, making your job easier, right? Like,
Yeah.
I see my job as solving problems, but not solving problems because, oh, like it's I can't, you know, open this jar of pickles, right? Like, I'm not solving that problem. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make your life easier. I'm trying to make our distributors' life easier. I'm trying to make our contractors' lives easier. I'm trying to make the end user's life easier, right? Because if they can access their product remotely, if they can, if they can, you know, take this Cyper 50 and get a facelift on a building that, you know, had maybe end of life controllers in it, or something that was installed, you know, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, more, because we know they're out there, right? If we can give it this faceless and get it up to date with our cybersecurity, that's
Making life easier. You know, Melissa, you said something. I was writing little notes here, but so we've basically covered the edge controllers and
Yep.
the Cyper, you know, being one of the star, you know, products. We talked about, you know, again, the field devices, you know, and you know, at the edge and then going to the cloud. But where's the real magic sauce? That's in the software, isn't it? I mean, you guys got some exciting software that you probably want to share with us.
Yeah. So I agree. Like, the magic sauce is in that software. You know, I was just thinking about this as I was driving in today, right? Like, you get some of the best ideas when you're like, just not even
Stuck in traffic.
working. Yeah, you're stuck in traffic. Yeah. And the software really is where that magic sauce is, to exactly what you talked about. That's what people see. That's what you touch and feel, right? That's what our contractors are building out product in. I really like to, by the way, explain this space to some of our newer employees, or maybe people in my network that don't know what BAS is. I like to talk about how BAS is essentially a Minecraft for buildings.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
So in Minecraft, if you don't know what that is, it's you go in there, and if you do nothing happens, right? You got to build your world in there. And when we go into a BAS and we're building out automation, especially with the Niagara products, our Web to Niagara products, you're building that world, right? That HVAC world in there, or that HVAC building, if you want to be less dramatic. And you're able to, like, there's so much flexibility and integrate all these different things, right? It's a really great place to be. So, you know, we're working through lots of integrations, pulling in different systems, whether that be access control or analytics or lighting control. There's some integrations into, it sounds boring, but LDAP integrations, which frankly are like one of my favorite things ever, because I log in once and then am logged into everything, right? I love that. So those are just like some basic integrations, right? But but that's going to grow and continue to grow.
I think what's got to be challenging for you, and I'm saying this as a statement, but I mean it as a question. I think what's got to be challenging, not just for you, but for any vendor, is you got all these great products, you get excited about them, but then how do you differentiate? Meaning there's just so much you can do, you know, with a product that's going to control an air handling unit, right?
Yeah. And I think that at the end of the day, the differentiation really comes in how we service our customers, right?
Yeah.
And how we are answering when they have questions, when they want to know more, or maybe when there's something goes wrong. Because no matter what, there's always going to be something that goes wrong, right? Like I get a flat tire every once in a while, no matter what, right? On my car, right? And how my roadside assistance responds to me matters, right? If that's the route I take, I will say that I probably change my own tire, put the donut on, and drive away. But that being said, it is how you service that customers. And this is one thing that I think is so important to recognize in this industry. You know, we're here building these products to enable the distributors, enable the contractors, to be the experts, to really serve their customers best, right? And that end user. But at the end of the day, the business is done person to person. It's still a relationship business, right?
Well said.
And that's one of the things too, like having a Niagara platform be open and having the web's product coming out where, you know, you can pick and choose your contractor, that drives a healthy competition, right? And it really drives a focus on that relationship. And those relationships are very important.
Well, they are. And just to sort of hop in real quick, I think the other thing that's really important too, you know, technologies come and go, and companies that develop really innovative technologies can come and go. So I think there's something to be said for the fact that Honeywell's been around for 150 some odd years, right? And so there's something to be said for that, the longevity. You know, there was an old statement about IBM, you never get fired for buying an IBM system, right? Because they're going to be around. Whoa, there you go. How many years? I can't see it.
Legend of Honeywell.
Yeah, nice.
It's the legend of Honeywell. I was gifted this on my first
Hold it up while you're talking, because the camera will go on you when you do that. Yeah. And so say something.
Got a weird glare on it, but
there you go. The legend of Honeywell. Awesome. That's
the T87.
Oh, this could be
actually, it was a T86, right? I think the very first Honeywell round.
Yeah,
you guys, are you getting my reference here?
We're getting it. You got it.
Well, I was trying to reference Star Wars.
Yeah, I did. I didn't come out quick enough. Yeah, but I saw it. But Melissa was going to wear what her favorite team is. I assume it's the Minnesota Vikings, but I can't ever be sure because you're from Green Bay. I mean, you got to have some pain there.
I did live in Wisconsin for a dozen years, so that's a valid question. I get it quite a bit. I would say that, and I also live about 3 blocks from from US Bank Stadium here in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
So that's another clue. I would say that I'm a Vikings fan and a Wisconsin Badgers fan.
Well, there you go.
Probably a bigger Badger fan than I am a Vikings fan, but yeah, I'm here for it.
Nice. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us, man. We got to get you back on the show. Will you come back on maybe next quarter over, keep us updated? I love your enthusiasm. We'd love to have you back on.
Yeah. Anytime, guys. Just let me know. And also, I want to say how incredibly flattering it is for you guys to keep calling me young. I turned 40 this year, so I'm like,
you just blew your chance to get in the young guns. So.
More.
Yeah. We've had people lie about their age so they could be young guns, but hey, you will be an honorary young gun, okay? And hopefully we'll have time to acknowledge you at the Controltrends. We'll see you at the Controltrends Awards, right? You'll be there.
Yep. I'll be there, guys. Thanks so much for your time.
Okay.
Listen, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thanks, Melissa. All right, man. Just when you thought the enthusiasm could get any bigger, Kenny, man, I love Melissa. I love her energy, huh?
Well, you know, we're seeing some really interesting things. Again, you know, we track the trends. So the Controltrends is a marvelous name because it really truly tells you about, you know, what's going on, what's different, how the needle's moving in what direction and whatever. But we're seeing some dynamic, young, competent people coming into the forefront, and they're going to take our industry to the next level. and a great majority of them are women. So it's just a fascinating industry. I think we're doing things right. I'd love to see more young people, more young women come into our industry and really get in behind us, because the more we talk about it, the more I believe in it. We need good people to do good things in our industry because we have the technologies. We just need more people to help us deploy it, execute some of those great opportunities that are out there. And then the manufacturers, the vendors from A to Z are bringing those products that are important, that are going to deliver the goods and bring us up to a smart grid, bring us up to automated demand response. They're here. We just need to get connect more of these dots and keep pressing on and promise ourselves to do another Control Trends Awards show next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just loving the energy I'm hearing from Honeywell right now. Really appreciate Barbara and Melissa coming on the show. But dog, I tell you what, man, we let the recorder go kind of long. So you and I got to go pack some bags. We're going to go where it's warm, and we're hoping we'll see you at the Control Trends Awards in Orlando, if not at AHR. But hey, if you see me and Kenny, come up and say hello. We love that. And with that, Kenny, that's another wrap, man. Another week on Control Talk. Now your smart buildings, video cast, and podcast. Remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, and get down to Florida and stay warm. Come say hi to me and Kenny.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smile.
I'm going to get a sweater.